Welcome to Midnight Story. Tonight, I want to take you on a gentle journey, a quiet, moonlit ride through a small American town where the nights are calm, the streets are peaceful, and the world seems to slow down just enough for the heart to breathe again. This is the story of a bus, a very old bus, one that appears only when someone needs it most. And the strange part, the part that people whisper about in diners and late-night gas stations, is that this bus has no driver. But it always knows exactly where to go. And that night, the night our story begins, it was waiting for someone who needed it more than he realized. His name was Evan Carter, a 34-year-old man who had been carrying more weight on his shoulders than he ever let on. On the outside, he looked like anybody else you might see on a quiet street in a small Midwestern town. Jeans, a jacket zipped up to the neck, tired eyes that looked like they were always searching for something. But inside, he was exhausted in a way that sleep alone couldn't fix. The kind of exhausted you feel when life keeps shifting faster than your heart can keep up with. It was late, later than Evan normally stayed out. Almost midnight, the kind of hour where the town of Maple Glen went silent, except for the distant hum of a highway and the occasional rustle of trees moving in the night breeze. He had just left his mother's house, his childhood home. The lights inside were warm, and she had hugged him a little longer than usual before he left. She always seemed to sense when he wasn't okay, even when he didn't have the courage to say it out loud. He told her he was fine. She didn't believe him. Parents rarely do. As he walked toward the bus stop at the corner of Willow Avenue, he could feel that mix of nostalgia and heaviness forming in his chest. The streets he'd grown up on felt different now, smaller, quieter, almost like they held memories he wasn't ready to face. He wasn't planning to take a bus. His car was parked a few streets over. But he walked toward the bench anyway, maybe because he wasn't ready to sit in a silent car with his thoughts, or maybe because a part of him felt called there. He sat down on the cold metal bench, exhaling a long breath he felt he'd been holding for years. He looked at the street lamp flickering above him, listened to the soft hum of electricity, and let the cool night air settle around him. Everything felt strangely still, and then, he heard it. A distant rumble. Slow, deep, steady. He lifted his head. An old city bus, one he didn't recognize at all, was rolling down the road toward him. The headlights glowed a warm, gentle yellow. The metal sides looked worn but cared for, like something from another time. Evan frowned. There weren't any bus routes running this late. Not in this town. The bus slowed, and came to a smooth stop right in front of him. The doors opened with a soft, familiar sigh, the kind every bus makes, but somehow, calmer. Almost welcoming. Evan hesitated. Then he stepped closer. "Hello," he called softly, peering inside. No answer. The bus was completely empty. No passengers. No driver. Only rows of cushioned seats, lit by a dim, soothing glow. The air inside looked warm, inviting even. And on the front display, where the destination usually appeared, there were no route numbers. Just one word. Home. Evan blinked. He thought maybe he was imagining it, maybe the exhaustion had finally caught up with him. But the word stayed there, glowing quietly in soft amber letters. Home. Not a place. Not an address. A feeling. He stood on the curb, unsure, and then he felt something unexpected. A sense of peace. A sense of safety. Something he hadn't felt in a long time. He stepped inside. The bus doors closed gently behind him, soft as a whisper. He took a seat halfway down the aisle, next to the window. The fabric was warm, like it had been waiting for him. He set his hands on his lap, exhaled slowly, and just listened. The bus started moving on its own, smooth, steady, without any sound of gears shifting. It rolled through the quiet town, passing houses with warm lights in living room windows, dogs asleep on porches, mailboxes lined up like memories of the past. Evan expected to feel scared. But instead, he felt himself sinking deeper into the seat, as if the bus had wrapped a soft blanket around his tired mind. Street after street drifted by. The town looked different at night, gentle, peaceful, like it was holding its breath with him. The bus passed his old elementary school, where he'd learned to ride a bike on cracked pavement. It passed the basketball court where he used to play with his best friend, Tom, long before life had separated them. It passed the old bookshop his father used to take him to on Saturdays. And each time a place appeared, memories he'd forgotten began to rise softly inside him, like bubbles in calm water. He remembered falling off his bike and scraping his knee, how his father had knelt beside him, cleaned the wound gently, and said, "Some hurts make you stronger, buddy. You'll see." He remembered late-night ice cream runs with his mom when she'd whisper, "Don't tell your dad," with a mischievous smile. He remembered running barefoot through the grass during summer storms, feeling alive in a way he hadn't felt in years. And as each memory surfaced, something in his chest loosened. It didn't hurt. It healed. The bus made a soft turn down a road he didn't recognize. The houses faded away, replaced by tall trees and quiet open fields lit by the moon. The stars above seemed brighter, closer. He rested his head back against the seat. For the first time in a long time, he didn't feel alone. The bus slowed gently, and came to a stop near a wooden fence overlooking a field of tall grass swaying like waves in the night breeze. Evan stood and stepped outside. The air was crisp, cool, but calm. The field smelled like summer, even though it wasn't. The sky above was a blanket of stars, stretching endlessly in every direction. He leaned on the fence, and let everything he'd been carrying finally rise to the surface. The stress, the worry, the grief of losing his father 2 years earlier. The pressure of working a job that drained him. The fear of failing the people he loved. The weight of trying to pretend he was okay when he wasn't. The bus made no noise. It simply waited, like a friend who knew what silence meant. Evan closed his eyes, and for a long moment, he just breathed. Slow, steady, real breaths. The kind his mother always told him to take when the world felt too big. He felt tears slip down his cheeks, but they weren't heavy. They didn't burn. They felt like a release. A soft, human release that he had denied himself for too long. When he finally opened his eyes, the field looked different. Brighter, lighter, like the night sky itself was telling him he was going to be okay. He turned to the bus. "Thank you," he whispered. He didn't know why he said it. He didn't know if the bus could hear him. But somehow, he believed it could. The doors opened softly. He stepped back inside. This time, he sat closer to the front. Not because he was scared, because he felt ready. The bus began moving again, rolling slowly down the moonlit road. Evan watched the trees passing by, their branches waving gently as if wishing him well. He didn't know where the bus was taking him. He didn't need to know. For the first time in years, he trusted the path ahead. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time felt blurry inside that warm bus. He felt himself drifting between wakefulness and dreams, his thoughts quiet, his breathing soft, his heart steady. When the bus finally slowed again, Evan looked out the window. They were back at Willow Avenue. Back at the bench where the night had begun. The doors opened, the lights dimmed, and the message on the front screen changed. This time, instead of home, it said, "Rest easy." Evan stepped outside and felt the cool night embrace him. The heaviness in his chest was gone. His mind felt clearer. His heart felt lighter. He turned back to look at the bus, but in that split second, it was already pulling away. No engine noise. No headlights blinding his eyes. Just a soft, quiet departure into the empty street. And then, as it rounded a corner, it disappeared. No trace. No rumble. No sound. Just the night, peaceful and still. Evan stood under the street lamp for a long moment, letting the calm wash over him. He walked to his car, opened the door, and paused. He didn't feel afraid of tomorrow anymore. As he started the engine and looked in the mirror, he saw something in his own eyes that he hadn't seen in a long time. Hope. Soft, quiet, but real. And for the rest of his life, he would remember that night as the night a mysterious old bus with no driver found him when he needed it most. And gently guided him back to himself. Because sometimes, home isn't a place. It's a feeling you forgot you deserved. And on nights when the world gets too heavy, that bus still appears, somewhere, waiting, for someone who needs a peaceful journey back to their own heart. If you are new my channel, please subscribe and press bell icon. Rest easy. You're safe now. Your road continues. And you're not alone. Good night.